A Mexican-Canadian musician cancels his U.S. tour. Ottawa watches its aerospace future in a high-stakes cross-border standoff. And the federal EV strategy could shift just as Chinese-made electric cars roll in. Plus, your Ottawa weather, a home show buzzing with ideas on a budget, and a curling classic with a familiar Ottawa connection. It's Monday, February 2, and Ottawa's getting a bright but brisk day. Expect sunny skies, a high near -6 degrees Celsius, and a low around -19 degrees Celsius. South of the border, politics and policy are rippling into Canadian lives. Toronto-based Mexican musician Quique Escamilla has pulled the plug on his U.S. tour, citing safety worries amid intensified immigration enforcement. He says that even with his paperwork in order, the climate of racial profiling feels too risky right now. Meanwhile, in Montreal, demonstrators rallied against U.S. immigration crackdowns and called out Canadian companies with commercial ties to ICE, arguing Canada shouldn't be complicit in tactics they see as violent. It's a reminder that culture, commerce, and conscience are colliding, artists, audiences, and institutions caught in the middle. Commerce is also front and center in a brewing trade showdown. Washington is threatening steep consequences over aircraft certification and Canada's potential trade with China. The Trump administration has floated a 50% tariff on Canadian aircraft and even suggested decertifying Bombardier jets, while alleging Canada is blocking U.S.-made Gulfstream certification. Unifor is urging Ottawa to step in fast to protect the aerospace sector and the jobs it supports, warning that politicizing safety certification is a dangerous path. With more than half of Bombardier's fleet flying in the U.S., any tariff would hit hard. For Ottawa listeners, that's not abstract. Supply chains, engineering contracts, and maintenance work reach deeply into our region's economy. The stakes, paychecks, public safety, and Canada's industrial capacity in one of our most advanced sectors. Another file with long-term consequences: defense. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is pitching a new military base in Churchill, Manitoba, to reinforce Arctic sovereignty and streamline defense spending. Experts are skeptical, pointing to tough logistics and questionable strategic value for a base there. At the same time, the U.S. ambassador to Canada, Pete Hoekstra, is warning that NORAD arrangements could change if Canada doesn't move ahead with 88 F-35 fighter jets. Canada has ordered 16 so far. The subtext is clear. If Canada underinvests, expect more U.S. air activity in our skies to fill the gap. For policy watchers in the capital, this is a pivotal moment: spending efficiency, continental security, and sovereignty intersecting in a debate that will shape budgets and strategy for decades. Back to the home front. Literally, thousands turned out at the EY Center for the Ottawa Home and Remodeling Show, hungry for creative upgrades but laser-focused on budgets. People want novel design and energy-wise improvements without breaking the bank. If you left with more ideas than dollars, you're not alone. The mood was dream big, spend smart. A quick win to consider this winter: bigger impact lighting and insulation tweaks before major renos. Housing policy is also moving. The federal government's Build Canada Homes Agency, capitalized at $13 billion, wants to double home building and is now courting banks and pension funds to finance affordable projects. The goal? Crowd in private capital so shovels hit the ground faster, especially in provinces lagging on permits and starts. In parallel, Ottawa has introduced faster tax write-offs for greenhouse expansions to boost domestic vegetable production. Industry says it helps, but warns bigger operating costs, energy, labor, inputs, drive prices more than build costs. There's a climate thread here too. Efficiently heated greenhouses can shorten supply chains and cut emissions, and smarter energy management, potentially using AI to match heat and light to weather in real time, could make those facilities cleaner and cheaper to run. Transportation and climate policy are colliding as well. With a Canada-China arrangement opening the door to Chinese-made EVs, pressure is mounting on Ottawa to rethink the electric vehicle availability standard. The former mandate set targets of 60% EV sales by 2030 and 100% by 2035. but the Carney government paused the rollout after fresh U.S. tariffs and launched a 60-day review. A new automotive strategy could land as soon as this week. The central question: keep a mandate that pushes supply or pivot to incentives and infrastructure while navigating a flood of lower-cost imports and a neighbor imposing tariffs. However it shakes out, the outcome will shape emissions, consumer choice, the auto sector's competitiveness, and how we build charging networks from Canada to Orleans. And yes, AI could play a real role. Smarter charging and grid management can lower peak demand and make EV ownership easier in cold climate cities like ours. Quick local notes to keep you in the loop. Ottawa celebrated former Prime Minister Stephen Harper with events ahead of the 20th anniversary of his Conservative government, including a Royal Canadian Geographical Society Gold Medal and a gala with former staff and senators. CBC's This Is Ottawa, hosted by Robin Bresnahan, dropped another deep dive into city stories. If you're not already subscribed, it's a solid weekly window into the capital's quirks and questions. CBC Ottawa's weekly news quiz is up. This week touches on the LRT train that stalled Tuesday and forced passengers to walk, service reductions in Lanark County due to a province-wide shortage, and a culture tidbit from Mark Carney about a TV show he says could only be made in Canada. If you rode the rails this week, you might ace it. Sports fans, what a finish at the Scotties. Carrie Einerson captured her 5th national women's title, edging Caitlin Laws in an 11-end thriller. Einerson nailed a short-angle raise to tie in the 10th. Laws missed a tight takeout in the extra end, and that was the opening. Fun fact for Ottawa: either Einerson or our own Rachel Homan has featured in every Scotties final for the past decade. That's dominance you can set your watch to. And a quick sends note before we go. We'll keep an eye on the lineup and results this week and break down what it means for the playoff push and the trade board in our next episode. If you've got questions on prospects or pairings you want us to tackle, send them our way. Before we wrap, a look beyond the capital. Global News Maritimes and Toronto Roundups covered winter weather shifts, community events, and healthcare updates out east, plus municipal changes and transit projects in Toronto, with national and international hits tying it all together. You can catch the video segments on globalnews.ca. That's it for today. Ottawa gets the sun without the warmth. High near -6 degrees Celsius, low around -19 degrees Celsius. So layer up and enjoy the light. If this episode helped you start your week, share it with a friend, and we'll be back with more local, national, and climate tech angles tomorrow.